Thank you so much for the love and of course always keeping it with us here on Good Morning Uganda Extra. That is an extension of Good Morning Uganda. Once again, in case you've just joined, I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyitono, and this is an extension of your morning show where we ensure that still we give you more information that you need. Now today is a big day in the history of Uganda in the oil development of this country, or exploration, where we are going to see Uganda sign, that is the final investment deal that is going to be happening in Kororo between, that is the government of Tanzania, that is the Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation. We'll have UNOC, that is our own agency as a country, Uganda, in terms of oil exploration, but we also have Sinok and Total Energies. They'll be signing their final, that is, investment deals, but that is something we're going to be discussing on later. Well, we just also want to take a recap of what happened yesterday, another historical moment in Uganda, more so also in the East African community, where we saw that Gatuna-Katuna border reopen yesterday. And this morning, I have the man who was at the scene, and that is Robert Onyango with me, and of course, Jagenda Semakula at my extreme end. Robert, a lovely morning to you.
Morning to you, Mr. Robert.
Welcome back.
Oh, we are back finally.
And Jagenda, a lovely morning to you.
Well, thank you so much. A very good morning, Chirabo. And you worked also Robert also. Robert and Robert.
We are two Roberts.
Good morning to the two Roberts. And I also want to thank Onyango here for having endured that long journey from the border. I actually spoke to him at about 9 o'clock in the evening, and we're still traveling. And if he's here this morning, then he's really done a very commendable thing to actually endure and get here. But good morning to all our viewers, and good morning to all of you. And welcome back from the border, Uganda-Rwanda border.
It wasn't easy.
Well, Onyango, just to begin with, yesterday you were at the scene reporting. By evening there was a lot of anxiety for people to carry out business, only to be told that, well, apart from essential travels and cargo, the movements have been restricted. Your analysis on the situation on the ground, how did the people perceive this?
Yeah, well, when that news came in that they are now for now allowing only essential workers to cross to the other ends of Rwanda or even these ends of Uganda, the locals around the Gatuna-Katuna border, I think, didn't welcome this communication. There were a lot of anxiety after the communication which came in a few weeks ago from the Rwandan government that the border will be fully reopening come 31st January 2022. Many thought after the 3 years of endured losses and business crippling that this was a good time, that now the border is coming back for fully reopening, then their businesses will be now again given some light to go on. But when the government officials from Ugandan side, because we were not allowed to cross to the other ends of Rwanda to interact with them, but it was a general information which was given on either both of the sides, it wasn't good for here, especially from the communities of these ends of Rwanda. Earlier on, we had even people who were going for burial in Rwanda. And when they reached at the migration offices of the Ugandan side, they were stopped to go. They were told, no, for now, we are not allowing such people to cross over to the other ends. And they were like, oh, all along the communication has been very clear that we are reopening. And today, we thought it is our turn, it is our time to Uganda at least be part of people who are going to lay off their relatives. We wanted even to physically and go and at least interact with their families, because 3 years we have not got any chance to go and interact with them. But the communication, as you did see, it was like we need a 1 week for the two governments, for the two countries to at least lay down modalities on how people who are not in the other category of essentials will be allowed to cross from either Uganda to Rwanda or from Rwanda to Uganda. And it left a lot of questions on why all these. Yes, the major point being raised is the COVID modalities. The two countries are laying down ways of how to conduct the COVID tests, but people were like, no, the COVID tests, we can get them as well as much needed. Even if they tell us today, we can go and test. But when you go to the Ugandan side where they are testing COVID-19, there were a lot of some things which needed also to be sorted out. And in a general perspective, you can say the Rwandan side was more prepared than the Ugandan side. that also left a lot of questions. You see what is happening at the border. When it rained, it made everything very worse. It was a very muddy situation. We need to, at least as a country, to at least improve on how we do our things and to catch up with the Rwandan side so that the two countries can fully reopen, businesses can flow in, because when you go to Gatuna border, it is a very total mess. Businesses have totally rushed down. You need to, if we don't do much in terms of even supporting these communities to ensure that they recollect themselves and bring back life to their businesses, then most of them are likely to at least get where somewhere to go and operate from.
Maybe let Onyango also let us know this. We saw some videos which are being shared on social media of some buses, of course, apply to Kigali, and we could see people chanting, singing, jubilating, doing all the things, and of course that sent a signal to the rest of us who are not at the border that things now seem to have come back to normal, the pre-2019 February days. And maybe secondly, we also just need to know from you, because you are actually there, the excitement, and did the people come because they really wanted to travel, to cross, or it was just like saying, well, because this is here, let's just try it out and see, even when some maybe had no aim of crossing over to do all the things, were people really there eagerly saying, let's see the borders open for us to actually go to Kigali for whatever business, or it was just this excitement of what can really happen?
Yes, to begin from the first question, what I can confidently confirm, like of yesterday, there was no movement of people using buses crossing from Uganda to Rwanda or from Rwanda to Uganda. There was
all
no
these buses
such.
that take people to...
That excitement, I think, is happening somewhere else, either in the taxi or bus parks within Uganda or the other ends of Rwanda.
It wasn't at the border.
But for yesterday, we were told only one cargo truck that was coming from Rwanda had crossed to Uganda. And by the time we left the border, only one pickup, it was a double cabin under the number plates of Rwanda, was the only vehicle which had crossed from Uganda to Rwanda. There were no other movements, except the other ladies I told you who were going for the burial. They were later on allowed on a humanitarian ground to cross to Rwanda. And that was a
lady whose name I had, I think, was called Sarafina.
Yeah,
Sarafina
she was trending. But that happened when we were also seeing it, because we had interacted with them earlier when they were blocked from going. But I think the information was taken to the Rwandan side. They were later on called. They were allowed at the entrance of the border. They were somewhere you have to wash your hands. They were allowed to wash their hands. They were checked, allowed to go in, and they were a tent somewhere in the Rwandan side where they went for COVID tests. And after that, later on in the evening, we were talking to her via phone call. It was like, yes, we were allowed. We went, we buried our relative, and we came back. Then from the other ends of Rwanda, there was also a group of 5 Rwandans who were also allowed to cross to Uganda. That's how the situation was by of yesterday. But what I can, as I said, there were no buses crossing from either sides. Then to go on the second question you were raising, the anxiety was there generally. People wanted to cross because, you know, at the border... Or they really had reasons why they had
cross.
Reasons. Okay. One, we all know that at the border there are people who have gardens across. People are gardening in the other ends of Rwanda. People have gardens in the other sides of Uganda. That connection, people feel they want to go and at least attend to their gardens. There are close families, people want to cross, and when you heard the commissioner was saying, like, such people can have a special arrangements if you have families on either sides. On a humanitarian ground, before the week or the 1 week which was set up, they will be at least allowed to cross on a humanitarian ground. So the excitement was there. Then the business community, I can confidently tell you, they were waiting for this moment. Very many people feel, because Uganda was exporting most of its products to Rwanda, people want to see that business flow. So it wasn't a matter of, let's be here, let us witness how the border is reopened, but the anxiety is we want the border to be reopened and we go back and start our trading or businesses.
Onyango, maybe one of the things I also want you to hint on, when I was watching all these clips, you'd find that Ugandan side, which diplomats were there, as a gesture of welcoming this. Rwanda side, you could see a few, but Uganda totally seemed like either we weren't very so sure, because I looked for any maybe minister, anybody to officiate. Yes, you would see the banner of President Kagame and our own President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. But even when we walk to the revenue customs, you will see that the Rwanda side are very smart, very ready, coming home.
Actually, maybe what Chirawo is talking about here is whenever we attended these opening of the one-stop border points, you would see a delegation from delegations from either countries, where you see maybe minister, commissioners of the tax bodies, etc., coming, and of course seeing this fanfare. Now for this particular opening of the border, did we have some sort of an event like that? Because it is something that everybody was waiting for.
Cut ribbons.
Yes, and we did not just say, we couldn't just expect that the border is closed, and when you say it's open, then somebody just either gets the metro away or the boom away or the gates away or anything like that. Like you're saying, was there any formal arrangement of government officials from either countries meeting and talk about all these things?
Yeah, well, the argument from day one has been, like especially from the Ugandan side, that at first of all, they were not the ones who closed up this border. The border was closed by the Rwandan authorities.
Okay.
For their argument has been, for us, there's no need of hyping. What we are waiting is the people who closed their border to reopen their border. Just like you had the communication, Uganda's borders have been open to every country. And there was no need, like that was the argument from the Ugandan side, that the excitement that the border is going to reopen. Last time I was talking to Okello Oryem, that was on Sunday, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, State, and was telling me, you media guys, you are hyping up this. There's no cause for anxiety like from the Kampala-based government. What we want is the people who close their own border, they should wake up and open it. Our border is open. And when you go to the border, and this is the reality, that the border, we have Katuna border is on this side of Uganda. Gatuna is the other end. So people were like, let us wait for them to open up Gatuna. Katuna is open. So that's, I think it's on that ground that the Ugandan government, you will feel there was no that much anxiety from them. Just like you saw, we had the commissioner, customs, and someone who came from the Uganda Revenue Authority and immigration offices. And as well as the other ends, when we were asking them, whom did they meet in the other ends of Rwanda, they were also telling us the same. They met the commissioners from the Rwandan Authority, that is the Revenue and Customs. So that's, I think they all prepared it, they found it necessary that they can be handled at that level, other than bringing it to the level of ministers or other delegations to at least officiate. There was no even, I don't know, even when media were there, we're asking ourselves, is this what they mean by reopening? Then the questions...
What were you expecting?
We had also expected a very big function.
So maybe just to throw it direct to your face, Robert, direct to your face, would we say this was more of a cosmetic way of reopening?
I don't want to use the word cosmetic, but it was a simple reopening of the border. Because one, the border has been in existence. This is not the inauguration of it. It has been there. So, like the government of Uganda has always urged that it was a matter of giving time and a chance to the one who closed his border to reopen it up for businesses. And it's what happened yesterday.
I think also want to agree with Onyanga. You also can't call it cosmetic, but
because Jagena, what the people expected, though there are a number of formalities to work upon, because one of the things when I'm analyzing this situation, one, yes, this border had been closed, but there were all signs that it would be reopened. Why am I saying so? That all the construction from the Rwanda side, despite the border having been closed, was going on. When you look at Uganda, somehow we seem like caught unaware. I'm sorry to use that word. Because even right from no man's land, you would see a lot of things. Later I saw Commissioner talking about we are on time, we've finished the scanning side, then the road will just take a few weeks. But I think this was enough for you to see what is happening on that side. And much to the tune of the dance, you know.
Not to me, I actually don't even want to look at it from that other bit of as if the closure was to, I'm thinking now differently. I don't want to think that the closure was because there were issues of maybe rebuilding, reconstruction, rearranging or stuff like that. Just like you said, Katuna is open, Gatuna is closed. And recalling the minister's statements is the Kampala-based government did not close their borders. The Kigali-based government closed their borders over these issues. Kampala alleges this, Kigali alleges that. Now we've had this from 2019. And to me, I just want to think that even when the borders were not closed from 2019, maybe we wouldn't be talking about the construction that we're seeing. To me, I think Kigali had planned to actually construct or do whatever they want. That's what I'm thinking. I will only hear something different, but that's my thinking. They're only putting the house in order, whether the borders are closed or not closed. And we don't want to think, I don't want to think that they closed because they wanted to make certain things right. That's my thinking. I can only just get a different maybe opinion or version to that. But my other issue here is because we are talking about the Gatuna border. Do we have another border to Rwanda? I think via Mirama Hills or so?
Yeah, Mirama
yes.
Hills.
How is that? Is it open? Is it closed? There's Chanika.
Yeah.
How about those others? Are they closed? Are they open? What's so special with this particular one? Because if you can access through Mirama or if you can access through Chanika, then...
Which is very hard.
I'm only thinking, yes. Then what happens to that?
It's a longer distance.
It's a longer distance, yes. But yesterday when the commissioners were also echoing the same that those borders are still operating. They have never been closed. And
Chanika and
Mirama Hills, and like people always prefer this Katuna border because of the shorter distance. Okay. And
it's cost effective.
And not only shorter distance, actually, when you look at even the infrastructure, I think even when our government was working on the roads, the roads the other side are not as very good as this one. So this has been the non-border for major transaction. Even when you reach at those other borders, the level of development is a bit low compared to what you have here. So this one is shorter, the infrastructure has been developed better compared to the rest. So it's very cost effective.
Yeah, well, that was the situation at the border, and the general call from the communities and even local leaders is that they now want to see, yes, the border is formally reopened. They feel the border was not closed by a coincidence. There were some issues. Now the community is like, let's look at the two governments. We don't want a repeat of this. And that was the question they were even putting us to media. Has the cause of all this been resolved? We were like, we can't answer that for now, but we think the two governments are trying to work up the modalities of how to resolve what initially caused the closure of the border.
I am sure that you interacted with some locals around the areas, especially on the Ugandan side, where you came from or where you were for much of your time. Did they seem like they actually know why the border was closed? Did they seem like they knew what was actually happening for all this while, or they were also just waiting to see and to just be part of anything that happens, whether they expect it or don't expect it?
Yes, 3 years down the road, you couldn't say they have not known why they have been under such situations. There are a lot of communications, a lot of information which has been flowing, or either on these formal TVs and radio stations, or even on social media. They were there when the two presidents met at the border. So you can't say they were not aware of what caused all this. They really know it, and for them they claim it is a resolvable matter which can be resolved, because they think there's no need for all this tension. The two families, the two countries are working closely with each other, so they feel that sense of connection must be given a priority. And they are hopeful that finally, when the border is reopening, someone was telling us when he saw the Commander Land Forces, who also happens to be a presidential advisor,
Special
Operations, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, meeting His Excellency Paul Kagame, he was excited and he thought it was a day he will always carry in his memories. And when he connected it to the border reopening, he was like, wow. He played a very pivotal role to ensure that the families can at least go back and try at least to find ways of surviving, because most of the families are depending on either sides, either Uganda or Rwanda. So the community is very optimistic that when the border fully reopens to its operations, life will flow in as it used to be 3 years ago.
Maybe just before we let you go, how about the local leadership? Well, I want to imagine the local leadership, especially on the Ugandan side, local government, the leadership in the area, LC5, LC3 of the area, maybe the chairperson of the area, the RDC. Did you find time to talk to some of these? Did you interact with them? And what do they even have to say about the situation at the border?
Well, there was a meeting at the border that was on Saturday, prior to the reopening, which happened yesterday, and that's when they even agreed to remove the barricades. There were barricades blocking entry from either sides, and that meeting was attended by, among others, the RDC Kabaale, the chairperson LC5 Kabaale, the revenue authorities and customs authorities from either sides, that's Uganda and Rwanda, and the communication was clear that this is what they have all along waited. Now, the chairperson LC5 Kabaale happens to have been the mayor of the Katuna area during the closure of the border. He was equally very happy to see that life is being restored, because
he was mayor at that time.
The mayor,
he's now the district
chairperson.
Okay.
He was very happy. He was like, the area, Kabaale, even in general as a district, is a dependent to the border. So it was like, we can't even as a district now collect revenue. Our revenue has been stemmed down. But now that the border is coming up, we think as a district it is time we also organize ourselves. Like even you saw the vice president when she was in Kabaale, she was also echoing the same. That now the border is coming up, I'm going to tell my people, because the vice president was even saying they were exporting a lot of grams of beans, sorghum, some sort of stuff to Rwanda, and was like, it is time now Uganda appeal to my farmers to organize their gardens now that the border is reopening. And her major point was like, let us look at the border in a perspective of doing business. What happened in the past should be rested, and we look forward on how we go on as a country. So leaders and local leaders in the area and locals are optimistic that it is a matter of business, and the other stuff should be left to those who are handling it. International relationships, it's not a matter of a concern to them. What they want to see is the business flow at the border.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Robert Onyango, for having traveled and, of course, giving us a feel of what really transpired, that is yesterday. We hope that business will flourish, and of course the time given for the two governments to sort out those few nitty-gritties here to ensure effectiveness of trade will be dealt with. We want to let you go, and of course we expect more from you. Let's go for a short break, and when we return, we'll be looking at the final signing, that is of the investment deals that is regarding the oil sector in Uganda to take place. That's at Kolo Ceremonial Grounds. We'll return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Start your day bright and early with Good Morning Bundles from Airtel. That's right. Enjoy brighter days with 2 GB at 5,000 shillings, valid for 24 hours. Join that morning agent meeting. Close that online business deal. Catch up with loved ones. Do it all with the most affordable data bundles. Dial *175# to buy Good Morning Bundles from 12 a.m. to 11:59 a.m. and enjoy 2 GB, valid for 24 hours from time of purchase. Good Morning Bundles for the best day ahead with Airtel, the smartphone network.
It's time to learn. Schools are open. As a student, school life is going to be different. You must follow the COVID-19 prevention measures, which include always maintaining a 2-meter distance from others in class, dormitories, entertainment halls, school vans and playgrounds, regularly washing your hands with soap and water, wearing a washed and clean mask that covers your mouth and nose every day, and encouraging your classmates to do the same. Your teachers will also guide you on how to follow SOPs. Don't engage in violence with other students. Report any cases of abuse by teachers or other children to a senior teacher. Those who don't follow the rules should be immediately reported to a class teacher for correction and further guidance. If you experience flu-like symptoms such as a sore throat, fever, dry cough or body weakness, immediately seek medical attention from the school nurse and inform your class teacher. Whenever you sneeze or cough, please remember, to cover your nose and mouth with a bent elbow, tissue, or handkerchief. Let's share knowledge, not COVID-19. This message is supported by the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education and Sports, and UNICEF. Stay safe.
The auction of 2022 is here. Kubeila easy. To bid on any of our selected items, a Bajaj Boda, brand new laptop, a smartphone, fridge, flat screen, or school fees worth 1 million shillings. You need to load airtime, then dial *210 *3 hash. Choose an item and pay a bidding fee of 10,000 shillings via mobile money. It's 10K. After successfully registering, you start bidding on your item of choice immediately. Dial *210 *3 hash again, pick item you registered for, then insert your bid amount. Your bid amount is not deducted from your mobile money. We only sell to the highest bidder. The highest bidder will be called live on UBC TV on February 10th, 2022, and you will come with the money you inserted as your bid, pay it in cash, and walk away with your brand new item. Highest bids for the day on various items can be seen by dialing *210 *3 hash. For more information, 0780 103 333. Baila is in the auction house. Terms and conditions apply.
Raise.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Commercial break, you're still with us, and it is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Now, like earlier told you, that today yet another milestone is going down the history line of Uganda. After 16 years since oil for commercial exploration was discovered in this country, we are now going to witness the signing of the final investment decision, and the ceremony is going to be at Kolo Ceremonial Grounds or Independence Grounds. That is today. What is going to happen is between the major stakeholders in oil, that is Total Energies, we have Sinok, we have UNOC, and the Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation that are going to be signing this. With Jagenda, we want to first begin looking at the oil journey in this country. 16 years down the road, we've had so many times people wondering when. And of course, we know we've had a lot of legal process to go through. Let's begin with this journey and then later look at the implication of this signing today.
Again, thank you very much, Chirabo. And today is another very big day in this country of Uganda, where we will be part or witness at the signing of the final investment decisions in Uganda's oil. When you look at the history or the writings or the documents that are available to talk about Uganda's oils, it dates far back to the maybe the post-World War II, actually, the pre-World War II times, and etc., etc. There have been quite lots of conversations of Uganda's oil, but now when we talk about the commercial viable oils of Uganda, we now get to 2006, when we discovered that we can actually, we have oil that we can explore and do for commercial and production purposes. And now that's a journey of about 16 years from then on. And you had the president many years ago when he was talking about this, and he said, when we discover that we have oils here that we can actually explore and put to the market and sell, and Uganda also becomes one of these countries that explore oil. Lots of conversations came up, and we started looking for experts, people who know how to do these things, and it just really took a lot of time to get to where we got now. The conversations have actually been long overdue, but for very good reasons. We are just lucky that the times we discover that we have oils that we can actually get to the market, we had lessons to draw from. When you look at what happened to Nigeria, they nearly had, you remember the secession of Biafra, and quite a number of things, the times of the Kensaro-Wiwas, and
where the blessing turned into the curse.
Where a blessing turns into the curse. And of course, you remember people talking about oils and saying, is Uganda's oil a blessing to Uganda or it's a curse to us? Now there are these, we can study from quite a number of countries now. You notice that Uganda's oil today, let alone what we talk about, but getting oil into this country, and that's why we've actually had these issues of shortages in the recent past is because we get our oil from some of these Arab countries, and I think Singapore. Now, these are countries that are really far away from us, and Uganda being a landlocked country that we have to transport to transport oil into our country through lots of course, places, which makes it actually a little expensive. But fast forward, coming to what we're seeing today, it started seeing the light of day, or the light of the day, when we, I think when we had the first signing of the ECOP, the ECOP company now, the East African Crude Oil Pipeline Company, that I think happened in 2017 August in Tanga. At that time, before we saw the late now President Dr. John Pombe Joseph Magufuli of the United Republic of Tanzania come to Uganda in November of that same year. Then, of course, laying a foundation stone at Luzinga in Mutukula. Then, of course, eventually at Kabale in Hoima, to see how all these things will keep working out. But you know, when you talk about oil, to a common Uganda, mwananchi, is they think when you say tuina mafuta, then the next thing is go get it, put it into the pumps, and would use them.
Just begin enjoying it.
Yeah, during those COVID times when we were talking about water, etc., 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 we had lots of conversations with the executive director of National Water and Sewage Corporation, Dr. Silva. And Ugandans, of course, had this conversation of saying, if we have all these lakes around us, and you see at that time we had COVID, but we also had increased water levels in our lakes. And we're saying, but there's even too much water. Why wouldn't there be enough water for all of us? Because we need water to wash our hands. COVID, one of the medicines that we had at that time, quote unquote, was water. And so, of course, Dr. Silva and their teams, of course, had to explain to us that even when you stay next to Lake Victoria or the shores of Lake Victoria, you don't just drop a pipe or so and say you'll throw it there, then it brings water into your house or something. It has to go through a process. That process where the silver mugishas have to treat the water, process it, do it, and by the time it comes to your house for consumption, that process is what actually makes it a commercial, a viable thing. So what we're seeing today is Uganda, to me, I am thankful to God that I'm alive today to see this happen, and I pray that I will be alive to see Uganda's first oils on market 3 years from now, because after this day, in my own understanding, is we've had a car, we've examined the car, we've prepared the car, we've serviced the car and done all the things too. So we are now getting the key to ignite the engine.
Well, Jageda, getting the key to ignite the engine, now we've seen a signing of a couple of agreements. To our viewer, throw more light on the relevance of these agreements. Why? Because many Ugandans are wondering, before the late Magufuli passed on, I think it was a week or that he was supposed to be in Uganda, yet again for a signing. So numerous signings have happened. However, the good news is this is the final signing of the investment. So what is contained? Why should countries go slow to this extent and have a number of legal documents put down in terms of oil exploration?
You see, what happens is, my understanding, we have this oil here in Uganda, and we can't process, we can't do it all, we can't produce it here all in Uganda, because according to what is coming to us from them is we have capacity of 230,000 barrels every day. That's what we can. Uganda's market cannot consume all that now, because this is commercial oil which needs to be sold to the market. Now, you can't produce it in Uganda and expect people to come and buy it from Uganda or sell it from Uganda directly. Now, that's why we talk about a pipeline. Now, to have a pipeline, you have to sign an agreement making the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, which starts at Kabale and it goes all the way to the port of Tanzania, the port of Tanga in Tanzania. Now, that's a complete about 897 miles or 1,443 or 45 kilometers of that entire project. Now, what I hear, or what we told, is we can only afford 60,000, I think, barrels every day, 60,000 barrels every day. But you talk about 230,000. So meaning another whole 170 plus barrels is what now will be pushed to Tanga for that production, where it will be produced now for the market, etc., etc. So you need to sign all those agreements. Now remember, you have a country called Uganda. Now Uganda has a business arm called the Uganda National Oil Company. Now that's Uganda. Then the other side, you have a company called the TPDC, which is the Tanzanian Petroleum Development Corporation. Now that's the business arm that manages the business interest of the commercial interest of that country called Tanzania. So that means you need to have an agreement. Company A and Company B, you need to have that agreement. So you need to agree on how much are we recouping from this investment, how much are we getting from this, what are the terms, what should we do, and etc., etc. Now remember, when you look at the crude oil pipeline, which is a whole 1,445 kilometers, only 20% is what is on Ugandan soil. The remaining 80%, about 1,100 plus kilometers, is actually on Tanzanian soil. From Mutukula, when you cross over to Tanzania now, to go all through the way to Singida, etc., up to Tanga. So the majority is actually there. Now, when you look at the investors, in our case, Total Energies, that is, I think, running the Tilenga, the Tilenga bit, the Tilenga fields, I think. Then Kingfisher is run by the China National Offshore, exactly, the CNOOC. Now, what we're doing today is now the final investment decision. Total Energies and CNOOC are putting their money into developing this oil for us.
About 70% in terms of the oil pipe.
That's a lot of money now. That's a lot of money that they're putting into this thing. Now, Total is a business
entity.
It's a business entity. So they need to recoup from the investment that they're doing. Same to CNOOC. Now, Uganda has also got a business interest in this whole thing now called the Uganda National Oil Company. Now, UNOC is really business. It is business of you. It's Uganda company. In terms of oil. In terms of oil. TPDC, the other side, also has to do the same thing.
Does the same.
Exactly. So these agreements, they've always kept agreeing on, we're going to put so much investment into this thing. What does it do? It brings, from what we hear, it talks about, I think, 58,000 jobs. And we talk about, I think, 1 billion shillings, 1.5 billion US dollars for work. It's the worth of local content or local work, and etc. And of course, lots of things. We had a conference here in 2017 when we hosted the president of Equatorial Guinea, President Mbasogo Ngwema. We had a conference here that was specifically looking at the oil and gas logistics. The summit here was for logistics. Ring fencing certain things for the Wananchi. Saying this and this and this can only be done by the Jagendas, the Chirabos, the Ratoros, the Farukus, and etc.
Just like this time around, I was privy to hear some of the contents here, that a number of jobs have been reinforced. The challenge now is Ugandans. How do you position yourself?
Exactly.
How do you position yourself to benefit from these
but you see,
opportunities
now,
that are given?
Exactly. Now, that's very good because it is actually in the law. It's written in the law, the jobs that Ugandans are supposed to do. And if for even those that are specialized, I think the law also says when you come as a specialized, when you come to give some specialized service, then for I think 3 years, you ought to have trained Ugandans who can actually take over, and get into that. So that's the way. We now, the native, the Wananchi, can actually benefit from that. And I think the Petroleum Authority of Uganda has been managing this and running this and finding, of course, we're going to build a pipeline, but we need people who will do welding. Now, you do not expect a welder to come from France. You do not expect a welder to come from China. You do not expect a welder to come from the US or elsewhere. This is we. Now, but of course, these have actually been here, and Ugandans like yourself, Chirabo, like myself, Jagen, and others have been, applying. They've been procuring. They've been doing all the things through the Petroleum Authority of Uganda to see how they can actually also get there. So what is happening today is having seen a Uganda government, Tanzania government, when Mama Samia Suluhu was here, I think it was in April, when she visited here, she came and of course sign those agreements. And we kept hearing this conversation.
Jagenda, finally, I see our time is running so fast. And of course, very soon we must look at what is really happening at Kolo ceremonial grounds. But to an ordinary Ugandan, the technicals, of course, now understand. I already know people in security that have already gotten contracts here and there. Those that have heavy machinery have already gotten that. But to the layman, what is the significance of this in the oil journey? Because for them, what they want to know, yes, they're interested in these agreements because that is what will protect our resource as a country. That is what is going to streamline what we are getting, how, if we are benefiting, to have oil a blessing, not a curse. But the ordinary person, what does this mean in the journey for them to see oil, finally, Ugandan oil, either in their vehicles or whatever it is meant for?
For the ordinary Ugandan, just like, you know, we normally talk about these things, to Zimbe Ngudo, to Zimbe Dam, to Koletuchia. Now, when they're building a dam, they're really not looking at Jagen and Gomuntu, what does he get from this particular dam here? But once the dam is there...
In the journey of oil exploration, so this gets us where?
That's why I'm saying that people, the wananchi, local content, they ring fenced jobs for Ugandans. Now, if Jagenda does not have that machinery, if Jagenda is not in security, if Jagenda is not in stationery, if Jagenda is not in welding, if Jagenda is not in anything, then Jagenda will have to wait for this oil in 2025. When the oils get to the market, the government will get money, the government will pay their debts, the government will pay this, then Jagenda should wait for medicine in the hospital. Jagenda should wait for water, clean and safe water. Jagenda should wait for a road, because when they are building these roads, they really don't care whether Chirabo will buy a motorcycle or a car or anything, but the road has to be there. We look at the economic viability of this road and say, we need a road that will take us from here to Katuna border. So once the road is there, you can actually live in Kabale and never even have an opportunity of driving on that road to go to get anywhere. But the road will be there for those who want to do business, to make business easier, etc., etc. So, to the common Uganda, like you said, is if they are not willing, or they are not ready, or they do not have capacity to provide anything. The project is in Tilenga, I think, is in Abulisa and part of Nuoya. So the people around those areas will also want to
benefit.
Yeah, when you look at the pipeline, the crude oil pipeline, now the ECO project, which starts at Kabale in Hoima, and it goes through from the time when it crosses out there. So people who are there to actually do some of the jobs here. But finally, when we have the oils here, then to the Mwananchi is, actually somebody asked me a question this morning to say, okay, now tell me, when we start producing our oil, how much will it be at the pump? Because we now see it at the pump. You want to drive, or you are seated in a taxi and you look at that pylon of Shell or Total or whatever, instead of saying 5,000 per liter, I think they want to say 1,000. Now to them that's it, because if they,
and how soon is that?
2025, that's what they told us. Until it's there, 25, 26 going forward. So when it maybe reduces to 1,000, then Ratoro will say, why should I pay more money when I am going to Chivito?
And yet the oil is...
And yet the oil. So to the normal person, I think they want to look at the figures on, the figures at the petrol station to say, okay, I'm after Gaka in the day. So if I am supposed to go to Tororo, instead of charging me 10,000, please, because in any case,
I just want to thank you so much for the time we've been here together, and of course to Ugandans, yet again another milestone where we see that is the signing of the final investment decision in our country. Now that the legal jargons, the legal bit of it has been done, we know what and who and how. Then we now wait for effective, that is embarking on the work to be done by 2025, so that we have our oil as a country and enjoy the benefits of that. Have a lovely day. God bless you. See you tomorrow, same time.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial *175 *94# to activate their 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial *175*94# to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles. Valid for 3 months. Dial *1